welded connection. Connections are more often used joining two elements. It might be beam and column or beam to beam. If you need to make weld connection, so you would have observed in many places during construction of steel structure, you need electrical power in order to make the welding. What are the advantages and disadvantages of having a weld? Let us see this. What is the advantage and disadvantage of welded connection when comparing to rivet or bolt? So you can discuss in the upcoming sessions. Yes. See, you need a welding machine. So this welding machine consists of two nodes. It will be a positive terminal and a negative terminal. You have to connect with electrode cables. You will be having a small metal piece, so which is used for welding purpose. So it is a special metal which is available if you are welding two pieces, that is a mild steel, two mild steel, you will be having a welding metal which will be a separate material. So you will be connecting through that, which will be connected at one terminal, and another terminal will be placed in the member where you are connecting. See, if the beam is being connected in the sense, one terminal will be connected to the beam and another terminal will be used with the welding rod, and this is the connecting material. This connecting material, when you connect with this, then current starts to flow. Current only starts to flow when the circuit is complete. So what happens? One terminal is here and another terminal, if you touch this material, it tends to spark. So there the current and the circuit is being created due to the less resistance of the material. What it happens, it slowly deteriorates. You can use AC or DC, that is direct current you can use by using power supply from any plug point, you can take it, or else you can take the battery. If any battery is available, you can directly connect through the battery and do this process. So this is not the new invention which is being made. And forge welding, this is a type of welding which is known for 3000 years. Knowing this kind of welding, and arc welding in 17th century, these weldings are there. So slowly the welding is being improved. It is higher yield to ultimate strength ratio but lower ductility. You are using one weld material, isn't it? So this is the weld material you are going to use. So this material will generally have higher yield to ultimate ratio and you will have lower ductility. You cannot stretch that welding material. You can stretch the member, that is the member will be having of mild steel. You can stretch and elongate up to 20 to 25%, but you cannot elongate the welding material. Much lesser in ductile, so it is very much brittle. There are number of material which is the connecting rod which is available according to your purpose. If the grade of the plate what you are using is Fe410, you have to choose the specific material for connecting that. So you have wide variety of the electrodes. Okay. So these are the grades. When you are looking into grade of bolt, you know it is starting from 4.6, 5.6, and if it reaches 8, it will be high strength bolt. So you know the grades. Like that you have grade for welding also. We cannot say that all the weldings are same. No, according to the electrodes used, how the technology is used, what are the material which you are using, that depends on grade of welding also. This is been detailedly discussed in IS 814 2004. So here the grades are given. The grade starts from E, X40 and XX. So this is grade. This is one of the grade, and if it is 4, you can mention that 400 Newton per mm square. So it will be around the same way. So whatever you got in bolt, if it is 4.6 grade, you will be getting 400 Newton per mm square of strength. The same way for the welding also, if you have the number 4, you can see that the ultimate tensile carrying capacity is 400. So around this 400 to 500 value, you will be getting the ultimate tensile strength. If you have 500 Newton per mm square. So this is 50, 51, 52, like that it is there. You can see that elongation is very less here. So these are the tensile property of a welding. It starts from 16 percentage and up to 20 percentage you have the elongation. If you want to carry the steel, there will be some holes. So if you are seeing a large girder, at the center of the material you will be observing holes in the steel structure. Why? Because these holes are used for carrying, for erecting up to certain height, so you will be having those holes. And if you are using welding, if you need rivet or bolt, you have to make holes, yes or no? So in case of welding, there is no need of making holes in that structure. You can connect with that same structure also. When you are doing bolted connection, you will find net area, that is A and B. A and B will be 0.78 times the diameter of the hole. So in case of welded connection, you no need to do this. Why? Because you are reducing the area. How many dia of holes are there? You will be reducing in the strength. So that is why the strength of the member is getting reduced. So in case of welded material, smaller cross section is enough. Why? Because you are not making any holes. The complete plate material will be taking the full strength. So that is the second advantage. And welding offers airtight and watertight joint. So you can weld the water tanks. You can weld the tank which is used for carrying or conveying water, petrol, milk, everything will be carried in a lorry. So you can see that that lorry will be casted the steel tank. There they will be providing welded connection. There should be no leakage. See, if you are using for structural purpose, there can be holes and it can be drilled. There might be any leakage, there will be no issues. But in terms of storage structures, when connecting, it is better to go for welding. So it will not spill the oil, water, even ships. You can build ships by using welding there, which will give 100% elimination of the water. And welding requires considerably less labor. You can save up to 15% when you are comparing bolted connection to welded connection. You can save up to 15% less labor of work. But even though the labors are less, every labor has to be a skilled labor. See, if you want to make a bolted connection, you can take the helper and you can pay him 500 rupees per day and you can take the help from him. But if you are welding, you need a technician. Without a welding technician, you cannot do that. So even though the small amount of welding is sufficient, you need the skilled labor, and they enable direct transfer of stresses. So no need of connection member, that is additional members are not required. The term rigid structure says that welding is rigid. Why? Because you know the different types of support. One is hinged, roller and fixed. The fixed support relates to welding and the hinged support is related to bolted connection. If you are using bolt or rivet, that is related to what type of support? Hinged support only, it allows rotation. But if you provide welded connection, it does not provide any rotation, it is considered as fixed. So you get three reactions. What are they? Vertical, horizontal and moment. So you get three number of restrictions. So that is why weld is termed to be as rigid connection, and always rigid connection are more economical than the flexible structure. Welding offers freedom to a designer. That is, you can choose different types of section. See, according to the shapes of the section, you have to design the connections. If you are using angle section and eye sections, where you can rivet or where you can bolt have to be selected. In case of welded section, you can weld at any point, either at the corner of the flange or center of the flange or at the web, whatever may be your position, you can weld that. When you are going for bolted connection, you can only bolt on selecting the edge. That is, from the edge it has to be bolted only to this distance, and from the pitch next bolt has to be like this. Like that you have restrictions. So if you need additional bolt, that your section might get increased. In case of welded section, the designer has complete freedom that you can plan your welding at anywhere of the edges between the connecting plate and the member. The welding is practicable even a complicated shape of joint, and you can alter that by using less expense. You can remove that. The welding can be removed and you can use that as a new material, a new steel material. But if once you are making the holes in the connecting member and the member, you cannot use for another purpose. But in terms of weld, if you are dismantling the member, you can use it for whatever purpose it is required. And the efficiency of the weld is 100%. Now you recollect the first problem which you have done in bolt. Lap joint gave 38% around of efficiency, and the butt joint gave around 75 got the efficiency. But if you are using welded member, 100% efficiency. So what I mean by efficiency is, due to connecting of two members, you might have the property of lesser member, lesser thickness. The force will be not transferred completely. That is why you have three number of forces. Forces which are carrying in shear, which will be some value. Forces which will be carried in bearing, you will be having some value. And plate. Within this three, least component you will take. Yes or no? This is the bolt. But in case of weld, completely you don't have any holes. So whatever the welding you are providing, 100% force is transferred to the member and the connecting plate. So due to elimination of holes, stresses concentration is being eliminated, and the process of welding is relatively silent when compared to riveting or bolting. See, the disadvantage is, this is what I have said already. If you are having less number of labors, and less number of labors should be skilled only, all the labor should be skilled human resources. Since you are working with the electrodes or the power, and the welding also needs precision. So any small holes or gap it is being left, then it is the defect of the hole connection. The inspection of weld is difficult and expensive. A bolt can crack or it can shear, it is purely visible. And if a weld is there, if any crack is available at the weld, it is not that much easy to identify. Why? Because the crack in the weld and the portion of the weld is very thin hair cracks. How you can find this? By testing non-destructive test, that is ultrasonic pulse velocity test or a hammer test. You can do it and take the material property. Without NDT test, you cannot 100% confirm and say that you have any defect or not. This is one of the disadvantage. And weld joint have large residual stress. You need a costly equipment. First slide I have shown you. You need a power backup. Then you need electrodes, proper wiring. Everything has to be in working condition. Okay. And welded connection are prone to cracking and fatigue loading. What do you mean by fatigue loading? Take an example of a bridge. If one vehicle is moving in a bridge, so you will be having one jerk at the junction. So each and every vehicle is going, you will be having jerk at the junction. Steel material is there. If it continuously having that kind of jerk and force, so the fatigue force is being created. If load is there, the bridge will deflect. If load is being passed, it will come back to its original position. So like that, per day it can have around 10 to 20,000 of cycles. A load can go pass like that. So 20,000 cycles it will go down and up, down and up. So this load is called fatigue. continuous force which is been acting, it will be small force but it is continuous. So this is known as fatigue. So bolt can take fatigue stress and weld is having the disadvantage. It cannot take more fatigue stress, prone to cracking. So the welded connection have possibility of cracking. The shop welds are very much easy. Why? Because if you are making any member and connections, all the material will be in your eyesight and below the eyesight. If you want to cast any member which has been already placed, so you have to do vertical welding. So vertical welding, it is very tough. You will be using the material and the spark will be coming around. You have to look into that properly. If it is there, angle is very much important for welding. If you have the line of sight and below the line of sight, you will be getting more vision and proper welding. If it is inclined at some angle or it is vertical, if you want to weld something in vertical, it is very tough. So you cannot work when your hand is up, yes or no? It is very hard to work. It is best to do it in shop only. The possibility of brittle fracture is more. So what are the other difficulties when you are making field welding? Transportation of the material. Even though in shop welding you have to transport. What is the specific difficulty? See, you have to carry the component. What are they? You need battery, you need all the cables. At each and every point you need that. If battery is over, you have to fill the battery. Otherwise, you are taking any connections, direct connection. If power is not there, it is difficult. Work will be completely stopped. But if you are taking bolt, you might have power or not, there is no issue. You can constantly work. Whereas in concrete, are you been looking for a power? If power is not there, you can do manual mix and you can complete the project. So this is the disadvantage of that. Welding has power supply requirement. Okay. Next is regarding the types and properties of weld. So this similar way, whatever you had in bolt, there are black bolt and friction bolt, high strength bolt. You have different types. The same way you have welding types also. First one is groove weld, second is fillet weld, slot and plug. So these are the four types of weld available. You can recollect the bolt, types of bolt. The same way you have types in the weld also. Okay. What is groove weld? Taking some material from the top. If any member has to be connected, you will cut the member and then you will weld for better finish. So this is known as groove. So you can see the example here. The material is here, two material which is been cut and which is been filled, and you can note that the surface finishing will be smooth here. But in fillet weld, you will connect the member at the end. So there is a corner, there is a L joint is here. At this corner you will be filling. That is why it is known as fillet weld. Next thing is a slot weld. What do you mean by slot? Is a hole. You are making a hole in the member and you will connect that. See, this is the cross section. You can see that the two members has to be connected. You are not connecting at this L junction. At the junction or at the end, if you are connecting, it is known as fillet weld. You are making the hole in the member itself and you are connecting through this hole, then it is called a slot weld. Okay. Then the next type is a plug weld. Plug weld is the same way. You will be providing a hole and a plug which is being connected. This is called a plug weld. So within this four type, you can see that fillet weld, that is this kind of weld is being 80% used extensively. Majorly you will be using fillet weld only. Groove weld. So you will be cutting this material and then providing the weld. Whereas in the fillet weld, are you cutting any material? Directly you are just welding. This kind of material or groove weld is used only 15%. Slot weld and plug weld, these two types of weld are only provided for less than 5% in structural application. So you can see that in another application you can see this kind of slot and plug weld. Fillet welds are suitable for lap and T-joint, and groove welds are suitable for butt and corner joint. Fillet weld advantage you can use at T-junction, where you will be having beam and column. These are the practical example. When you are connecting the member, see this is the base of a column. There can be any column member, and this is the base of the column. This two has to be joined. What is this kind of joint? So you know 4 types of weld right now: groove, fillet, slot and plug. This is groove weld. Why? Because you have a weld but it is not projecting outside, it is connected within the material. You can see that there is no junction or there is no angle, and you are connecting at that member. It is been cutted at this point and it is been made. What is this type called? Fillet. You have two material. This is one plate and this is another plate, and in that they are making the joint. You can see fillet weld will always be triangle. So you can see that it will be connected in a triangular shape. The holes are provided the same way you are putting holes for rivet or bolt. It is being connected for the member, and the two materials here. One material is provided at the bottom and you have this hole here, and above that you will provide the material which will be having the same hole, and you will connect and join the member. So this is the type of weld. Of the weld you have seen in your experience. Fillet only. So when you are seeing all the bridges, when they are casting, you can see this kind of fillet weld only. This will be only made for stainless steel or for finished materials. See the grill work. See, you can see the grill work there, no? All the grill work are made by using which weld? Fillet weld only. If you are looking into which one? Groove weld. How the groove weld will look like is, you will be not having one member and another member separately. There will be a holes in it and it will be merged here. So this kind of thing is called groove.